Nick Casotis was a Navy JAG, a trained prosecutor. After divorcing his first wife, he was hit with a $1.5 million judgment. Then Nick and his second wife, Mindy, went on the run. But what were they running from? Was it the seven-figure judgment or someone who was out to do them harm? Mindy ended up murdered and dismembered. Prosecutors say it was her husband, Nick, who did it. But the defense says no and is pointing the finger elsewhere. Where is the truth in this case? Where are the lies? Tonight, the latest from the courtroom. But first, law professor and devoted father of two, Dan Markel, was involved in a bitter custody battle with his ex-wife, Wendy Adelson. Wendy wanted to move with their kids from Tallahassee to South Florida to be closer to her mother, Donna, her father, Harvey, and her brother, Charlie. And after Dan Markel was gunned down in his driveway in 2014, that is exactly what she ended up doing. But then the investigation led to a murder-for-hire plot. Two hitmen convicted. A woman who brokered the deal convicted. Wendy's brother Charlie convicted. And now Wendy's mother Donna is getting ready to face a jury and was back in court today. We have all the latest.
This is it, folks, the final countdown to the case against Donna Adelson, the matriarch of the Adelson family, a case that goes back to 2014. Think about the family of Dan Markel waiting so many years for justice, which is just dripping and dripping and dripping with each trial and each conviction. We're now getting ready for trial number 4 connected to the murder of Dan Markel, and it's Donna Adelson who will face this jury. Now, let's talk about the case. First, the setting, Tallahassee. It's a nice little city, Tallahassee, right? It's the capital of Florida. It's sort of remote. They don't have the biggest airport in the world, but you can get in and out of Tallahassee pretty well. It's actually a college town. A lot of several universities in the area. The biggest, of course, Florida State University. So, you know, during the fall on Saturdays, it's a big-time college football. So it's that kind of a place, and some people absolutely love it, but it's not for everyone. And it wasn't for Wendy Adelson after her divorce from Dan Markel, who was working at Florida State University at the law school. She wanted to move back down to South Florida, but Dan Markel said no to South Florida. Why did he say no? Well, he works as a law professor at Florida State University. Tallahassee is hundreds of miles away from South Florida. It's the same state, but it's two different worlds, right? South Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, you know, big money, big airports, fancy cars, all of that down in South Florida. And if you're sharing custody, you can't just like drop someone off if you have them down in South Florida in Tallahassee. It'll take hours and hours and hours to drive, or it's a plane flight. So you're talking about two completely different places, and Dan did not want his children down there because he wanted to be he wanted to be a father, and he wanted to be there with them. So let's talk about Wendy and what was driving part of this battle that she was having with Dan regarding custody of the children. And a lot of people point to her controlling mother. She had a controlling mother. And to give you an example, like, how did Wendy get together with Dan? I've heard the story that Wendy and Donna, her mother, were going through J-Date, looking for people that Wendy could potentially date. And Dan was one that Mom loved. Oh, look at him. He's handsome. He's smart. He would be great. You should date him. She did. And she married him and had kids. But then everything fell apart. So Wendy's family, led by her mother, who was the matriarch, was down in South Florida, and she wanted her daughter back down there, and she wanted her grandchildren close by. So Donna really became part of this battle. You know, it wasn't just Dan versus Wendy, it was Dan versus the Adelsons and Dan versus Donna and Wendy. And the question is, for Donna Adelson, did this become personal? Right? Was this like a personal battle for her now? Like, oh, he's not going to beat us. He's not going to beat me. No, we are going to win this one way or another. And that's the theory of the prosecution. When they couldn't win in court, they went elsewhere. When they couldn't pay him off or buy him off, they went elsewhere to a hitman. That's what prosecutors are saying here. So who was the hitman? There were two of them. One of them was a pretty high-ranking member of the Latin Kings, notorious street gang. And at the trial, the defense, Donna Adelson, wants to be able to tell the jury that he was a member of the Latin Kings. Take a look at what happened in court today.
I know in the previous hearing last year, Your Honor questioned whether there was a difference between a Latin King gang member and simply a gang member. The answer is absolutely. In Miami, in South Florida, there is absolutely a difference between a gang member and a Latin King gang member.
Even with that being said, this ultimately goes to your client's state of mind and who is going to establish how she knows the difference between, forgive the pun, the garden variety gang member and a specific gang member.
I think between her testimony and anticipated testimony of Charlie Adelson.
Okay, so now we're talking about the Latin Kings. They want to be able to say this guy was a member of the Latin Kings. And one of the reasons it's important, because at some point there was an undercover agent who engages in what they call the bump with Donna Adelson and hands her some paperwork and a phone number. And he's claiming to be associated with one of the hitmen. So it's important for the defense, I guess, to explain Donna's reaction or whatever she did or didn't do that she believed she got bumped into by a member of the Latin Kings. Now, for those of you who haven't seen the bump, it's on video. It's not just testimony about what happened. They had a wire on the undercover claiming to be an associate of one of the hitmen, and they've got a video camera hidden capturing all of it. Let's take a look.
Mrs. Adelson? How you doing? Just want to give you this. Listen. No, don't be scared. Listen, I just want to let you know that we know that your family has been taking care of Katie and her friend Hugo for quite some time after your problem up north has been resolved. And I want to let you know that my brother, he's incarcerated. He helped your family with this problem you guys had up north. And we want to make sure that he's going through some rough times. We want to make sure that you take care of what he's going through, the way you're taking care of Katie and Tuco. Well, this will explain it. Thank you.
Unbelievable. Let's bring in our think tank tonight. Joining us, former federal prosecutor, president of the West Coast Trial Lawyers, Nima Romani is with us. Also joining us, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, David Schnipper, and criminal defense attorney, Josh Colesrud. Great to have everyone here tonight. Nima, I'll begin with you. There's two parts to this, right? First of all, watching that video, did she look scared? Did she look scared of that Latin King?
I don't think so, Vinny. And, we've been talking about, actually, you've been talking about the Adelsons for quite some time. And I know, obviously, this is a show.
Don't remind me, Nima. Don't remind me. We've been on this for quite some time.
But I know, but I want to give you some credit, Vinny, because I think you've been hammering the Adelsons for years now. We've covered a lot of the Dan Markel trials, including Catherine Banawat's trial. And we've always been saying, well, what about the people that really ordered the hit, including Donna Adelson? So I think this is key evidence. And I really like what the judge did today at the pretrial hearing. So there was a lot of potential evidence. And the judge said, you know what? Let them in. Let the defense argue their case and say that, Donna was threatened by the Latin Kings, and that was her state of mind. But he also brought in a lot of good evidence for the prosecution, including that one-way flight to Miami, the jailhouse informant information. So it's all going to come in, including the nasty divorce between, Dan and Wendy as well. So it's going to be a very interesting trial here.
So what do you think, David? Do you think that the Latin Kings, just has a different ring to it down there in South Florida?
The Latin Kings. You know how I love my sports of Hail Marys, Vinny. Here we go, another one with the whole Latin King card. Look, they call Tallahassee God's country. They had a horrific football season last year. They need a little juice, a little vibe. Hoping a conviction of the ringleader, Donna Adelson, who is just a pathetic, narcissistic, entitled, just a disgusting human being. This trial starts on August 19th. I commend law enforcement, the prosecutorial agency, just from Charlie Adelson to the hitman to the Latin King. Interestingly enough, the Latin King, Luis Rivera, was probably the smart one here. He's the only one who didn't go to trial. He pled for second-degree murder and got 19 years. So at the end of the day, the Latin King was probably the smart one here. He'll get out one day with the others. I'm hoping that Wendy Adelson and Harvey Adelson are next because they don't deserve to die today.
The one thing that always struck me about the bump, Josh, is that, and now she's claiming that she believed this was a Latin King who was approaching her, right? Let's take another listen to it and tell me if you're getting a Latin King vibe from this undercover.
Mrs. Adelson? How you doing? Just want to give you this. Listen. No, don't be scared. Listen, just want to let you know that we know that your family has been taking care of Katie and her friend Hugo for quite some time after your problem up north has been resolved. And I want to let you know that my brother, he's incarcerated. He helped your family with this problem you guys had up north. And we want to make sure that he's going through some rough times. We want to make sure that you take care of what he's going through the way you're taking care of Katie and Tuco. Well, this will explain it. Thank you.
Oh, Mrs. Adelson, don't be scared. It's just me. Right? Because to me, the defense is going to argue, I believe, based on what they're saying today, that she feared that this was and whatever action she took or didn't take was because she felt this guy was a member of the notorious Latin Kings who's bumping into her. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, sure. So, the Latin Kings, a notorious prison gang as well, they carry with it a certain stigma. And the defense certainly wants to capitalize on that. And, the video isn't great for the defense. She doesn't look scared in any way, shape, or form. But they may also say, look, she was a deer in the headlights and, she didn't know what to do. I think either way, she's probably going to have to testify to be able to tell the jury what was on her mind when, she was approached by the person for the so-called bump. But this testimony is significant. This is a common tactic that law enforcement uses when their case isn't strong, when they're trying to build a circumstantial case of, a ringleader, somebody who's maybe not directly involved with the hitman, but is certainly pulling the strings, like the evidence really shows in this case.
Yeah, she is pulling those strings, Nima. I think what's really fascinating about everything and the way it's transpired, Nima, is that the bump, and I looked at it, I was like, really? Why doesn't the guy kind of play the role a little bit? But it worked, because after this bump, the Adelsons can't keep their mouths shut. And they start chatting with each other, and that's how prosecutors get even more evidence from some of the recordings when Charlie's talking to Katie, when Charlie's talking to Harvey. They get caught up in all this, and prosecutors picked up some more evidence. And they didn't go to police with this either.
It does work, Vinny, and you do the bump, especially if you're conducting surveillance or you're up on a wire, right? You want to get people talking, and that's exactly what happened here. After this, I mean, we've all seen, the grainy videos. The audio's not the best in the previous cases, but Wendy and Donna and Charlie, but really it's Donna. I mean, she gets scared. So this really does prompt a lot of action here. And I mean, Josh is right. He talked about it, and it really came out during today's pretrial. How's the defense going to use this bump? How are they going to try to explain it away and everything that happened afterwards? Because there's a lot of recording. They said that Donna's going to take the stand and testify. And obviously, they're not stuck or committed to that. but that's going to be a wild cross-examination. I mean, there's going to be fireworks. If you're a prosecutor, that's what you live for. When you have your ringleader, your key defendant on the stand, lying to those jurors, can't wait to watch that.
Yeah. He also mentioned Charlie. Do you think there's any chance that Charlie testifies in this case? Convicted killer Charlie, who is banking the rest of his life on his appeal. Do you think there's any chance he takes the stand? David?
No way, Vinny. I think absolutely.
I'm sorry, I was throwing it to David. My fault. Sorry, Neiman. That's my error. E1. That's an E1, David. Go ahead.
I mean, I'm not in the mind of Charles Adelson. You've got his mother here, and then he's got his situation here where he's in prison for life and how it affects him. I don't know if he's going to sacrifice anything, what he has going on for mommy. I don't know what the relationship dynamics are, but I would advise my client to never cooperate unless what are you getting out of it? And so,
well, he's not cooperating. He'd be called by the defense. The defense can't give him anything. He'd be called as a defense witness.
I don't think that Charlie's going to be a factor here, but I agree with my colleague. I did read today that they announced that Donna's going to testify. Yeah. And I think she has to testify. I mean, she has no chance if she doesn't testify, and he's right. It's going to be fireworks. It's going to be it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun.
All right. Just like the rest of this show, Think Tank staying with us. When we come back, we're going to talk about the trial you're watching on Court TV involving this guy. I can't figure him out. He's got a million stories. We're going to go through his list of potential lies in the dismembered wife murder trial, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, she was the sharp-tongued matriarch accused of turning a bitter custody battle into a deadly plot. Now Donna Adelson faces trial for murder, and the secrets her family fought to keep buried are about to explode in court. Will Donna be convicted? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
A woman's remains found scattered throughout a 3-mile area.
Now, a former naval officer stands trial accused of killing his wife.
The Dismembered Wife Murder Trial. Live coverage weekdays, 8/7 Central on Court TV.
I saw the torso in the ditch, and I thought it was a hog, because there's a bunch of wild hogs down there, and I just thought it was a hog, and David and I looked at the deer, and then we went over, he said, "What's that?" And we went over and looked at it, and it wound up being a torso.
We had been informed that a portion of the body had already been found and recovered, but there were still some pieces missing.
Do you know specifically what pieces you were looking for that day?
A leg. Okay. And the head. As we continued down the road, dog found a Rubbermaid tote or a plastic tote that was back in some bushes. He changed behavior, showed interest in it, and eventually gave his train final response. I walked over and looked, and inside the bottom there was a red substance that I presumed to be blood.
It was difficult to really tell the extent of her injuries at that time because she'd have so much mud clinging to her skin.
Okay. What was the nature of her clothing at that time?
She was naked. There was no clothing recovered there.
Was there anything of note that you initially saw about her body?
Again, just that she wasn't wearing any clothes, that she was lying on her back, and that her legs and her head had been removed.
Gruesome end for Mindy Casotis. Her husband is charged with her murder. They're finding pieces of her body in the woods. And this is a guy who I'm trying to figure out as we're watching this trial. I mean, he's a JAG officer, or was a JAG officer, so he's a trained lawyer, trained prosecutor, you know, in the service, and it's these stories and these things that he's telling people just sound like the most obvious, biggest lies ever. And I think that's a big part of what the prosecution's case here is, proving the murder and also proving what kind of man Nick Casotis is and what he was telling everyone and why he was telling these wild stories. So we're going to go through some of these alleged lies tonight. Let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft, who is live in Riceboro, Georgia. Kelly, great to see you. You know, in our meeting, we're trying to piece together the story, but, you know, none of it makes sense to us because we're basing it on things that the defendant said. And it's like, it seems like it's all over the place. So want to go through some of these things with you so we have a better understanding of what he's saying and whether or not they are provable lies. Let's begin with what he was saying about how Mindy died.
Well, hi there, Vinnie. Yes, he told lots of lies, and that is undisputed. His defense counsel even said in opening statements that he lied. He lied to his friends, his family, and he did this for years. But according to the defense counsel, there was a reason for it. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is how he lied to Mindy, his wife's parents, about how Mindy died. Let's go ahead and listen to a bit of the testimony. This is from Mindy's mother, Betsy.
He told us that she was in her room and she needed to go to the bathroom, so the nurses unhooked her from all of her equipment, and she went to the bathroom, and then the nurse got called away, and she went back and got into bed and had a stroke. And there was no one there. I mean, she wasn't hooked up, so that's supposedly what happened to her.
Did you believe him at the time?
Yes, I did.
How does that make you feel in hindsight?
Stupid, naive.
While she was on the stand, Vinnie, she got emotional at times. This is Betsy, Mindy's mother, saying that she was naive and stupid for believing a lot of the things that he was telling her. And really, there's no record of Mindy being in the hospital. So to say that that was true, I mean, there's nothing to substantiate that she was in the hospital and had that stroke, and that's where she died.
And her body parts are found strewn throughout the woods, right? Like that's where she's found, dismembered.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. All over the woods, yes.
I don't know, like, I don't understand how you think someone's not gonna figure out how and when their child died. It's mind-boggling to me. How about this next one? Allegedly lying about Mindy, his wife, being pregnant.
You know, in Vinnie, it could be that she actually was pregnant at some time. Now, he talked about how, during a police interview, how she had tested positive for being pregnant. But again, going along with these lies, that they had to continue this belief that she was pregnant, couldn't tell anyone that she had miscarried. This is according to his story. So why don't we go ahead and listen to, this is going to be his third wife. So she was on the stand today, Samantha, and she was talking about how she met the defendant and how he told her how his wife and unborn child had died. And we're also then going to play a bit of his police interview. Police went to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. They did an audio interview with him, and he's continuing on talking about these stories. Let's listen.
He told me that he was a widower, and that he had lost his wife and his unborn child about 2 years prior, and that they had both died in a hospital.
So at this point, Mindy had tested positive again as pregnant. Like we wanted her seeing a doctor of her choice.
And roughly when was that?
This is when we were at the hotel. This was our list of demands, that we didn't want to be depending on him for anything.
What year roughly?
Oh, so this was 2022.
2022?
Yeah.
So she's pregnant, and around what month of 22?
Did Did she get pregnant?
Yeah.
She tested. She tested in May, but she had already been pregnant. We think for, or I was told she had already been pregnant for a little while.
Okay. Did she know if it was a boy or a girl?
Yeah, you heard him say there that they were expecting a girl, Vinnie. So for about 2 hours today during court proceedings, we listened to that audio recording of the defendant really calmly discussing any kind of details and answering any questions the detective asked him.
It's unreal. Reminds me of someone else who lied a lot years ago, but she got away with it. Kelly Craft, stay by. We're going to bring in our think tank real quickly. Nima Romani, David Schnipper, and Josh Colesrud. Nima knows who I'm talking about already. There was a woman down in Florida years ago, Josh, who lied about everything, lied to police, lied to her parents, lied about her daughter being missing. Jury didn't care at the end. The jury didn't care. You think this jury's going to care about him lying about how Mindy died to Mindy's parents? Do you think they're going to care about him lying to wife number 3 about wife number 2 being pregnant and losing a child?
Yes, they will. You know, the prosecution has done a great job at portraying the defendant as a master manipulator. And hearing from the wife's testimony today also, you know, it gives a human face to the person who was being deceived. And another thing that the prosecution is doing with this manipulation theme is to really kind of show that, you know, wife number 3 kind of got lucky here. You know, if this guy is as evil as what the prosecution is saying he is, then, you know, the jury is looking at somebody whose life was saved by him being arrested. Now, that doesn't mean that her testimony should be believed for, you know, every purpose. You know, there are some things about it. For instance, you know, the whirlwind romance. She doesn't like to be deceived. She's a horror author and so forth. And she has no direct evidence of a confession or anything like that. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the defense cross-examines her next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And David, the dynamic is interesting too, right? Wife number 3 coming in to testify against her husband about wife number 2's murder.
I mean, it's all over the place. I think I even read there was part of the story they were supposed to purchase a home in Missouri. He was supposed to show up with an $850,000 check. He got into an auto accident. He was in the hospital. His face was burned, and the check burned in the car. I mean, this guy's stories are just like, I mean, does he hear voices? Is he psychologically evaluated? Why did the defense do maybe some reason of insanity? And then there's this quote unquote Jim McIntyre guy that's following
we'll get to Jimmy.
Everywhere.
We'll get to Jimmy, Mac. Don't worry about that, David.
Jim Bob.
Unbelievable.
I mean, come on.
Nima, I'm scratching my head, Nima, but I just, you know, I don't know if the jury gets it, that there's a reason that people lie about things like this, especially when it comes to a murder case and you're lying about how your wife died to her parents.
Vinnie, I mean, you're right. And a lot of these cases, they come down to credibility, also likability, but Nick is neither. I mean, here's someone who, we don't know what happened with his first wife, but she tagged him with a $1.5 million judgment. And then obviously his second wife gets murdered, dismembered. I mean, really gruesome details that we've been listening to this week. And then now you got the third wife, Samantha's there and saying, listen, this guy lied to me. The marriage was a complete sham. I mean, Georgia's Monroe State allows for an annulment on the basis of fraud. And then you have the victim's parents. I mean, they're talking about how they've lost their daughter and they've been lied to about the circumstances of her death by their son-in-law, the defendant who's on trial. So from my perspective as a former prosecutor, he is completely unlikable, not credible. And I know we're going to talk about Jim, but like, if you're the lawyer here and you're making a promise during your opening statement, you better deliver if you're the defense here.
Yeah. All right. Think Tank's going to stay with us. Kelly Craft's still with us. When we come back, are any of the defendant's stories actually true? Welcome back. Should be playing the Thompson twins tonight. So we're just talking about lies, 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 lies. The lies of Nick Casotis, who's been accused of the murder of his wife. And we're kind of counting down the 4 big ones. Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft still with us down in Riceboro, Georgia. Okay, this is a doozy right here. Like, this is a doozy of doozies. Like, lying about and faking your own death. When did that happen?
Yeah, that's a really big one, Vinnie. But he is claiming, and defense counsel will put this out in the opening statements, that the reason he is doing this, all of this, telling all of these lies, is because he feared for his life, he feared for the life of his wife, Mindy, and so that's why he had to do this. And then he had to lie to his in-laws about himself being dead because, again, he was being manipulated. Let's go ahead and listen to a bit of the opening statement and how defense counsel laid this out.
We were told that he had had an accident, that he was in the hospital. We got another email a day or 2 later that said he had died.
We were talking about Mr. Casotis, and I said, you probably don't know, but he died several months ago, and he just kind of gave me a sad look and said, no, he's not dead.
Okay, so that obviously was those were the parents of Mindy's that were on the stand, and they were talking about how they found out that he supposedly was deceased, and when in fact, Vinnie, he wasn't.
No, I mean, I've seen him in the courtroom. He's not quite dead yet, right? He's in the courtroom. He looks a little different than his mugshot, obviously. He's lost some weight, shaved, etc. All right, let's get to another big one. This is the one that I'm obsessed with during this case, which is Jim McIntyre. The lie or alleged lie about some guy named Jim McIntyre. What's the story behind this?
So there's a big story behind Jim McIntyre, and he was asked during an interview with police, where did this guy come from? And he basically just showed up. And so, as I was saying before, defense counsel really laid this theory out in the opening statements, talking about how his client was being manipulated by the man named Jim McIntyre. Go ahead and listen.
Frankly, a lot of very strange and unusual things began to happen, and you will hear testimony on that. And he eventually contacts authorities, and a man calling himself Jim McIntyre appears. Now, Jim McIntyre claims to be with the FBI, and Jim McIntyre tells Mr. Casotis, tells Mindy, that they're in danger. They're in danger, their life is in danger, and they have to go essentially on the run. You'll also hear that following Mr. Casotis' divorce from his first wife, Heather, she gets a $1.5 million judgment as part of the divorce against Mr. Casotis. In the course of providing that award, Mr. Casotis was under the belief that he was the recipient of a sizable sum of money. But you will hear he never gets that money. That money was illusory. That money was allegedly being held by Jim McIntyre for Mr. Casotis. So he believed he was getting that money. He never got that money.
So during court proceedings today, we heard from the detective who conducted an audio interview with the defendant in this case, in which the defendant is continuing to talk about Jim McIntyre. The detective asks him, well, how do you get a hold of Jim McIntyre? He says, well, I don't know. Well, how did he contact you? Well, he would text us, but then his number would end up changing. What did he look like? He said he was 5'10". He had brown hair with some gray stubbles and about in his 40s, and he was thin. Here he is talking more about this Jim McIntyre in that police interview.
Okay, what was the guy's name, the software guy that you were communicating?
He goes by Jim to me.
Jim?
Jim.
Okay.
Yes. The last name McIntyre.
Okay.
I quite honestly, I feel like he's lied to me so much that I.
Have you ever met him in person?
I have met him in person. Yes.
Where'd you meet?
I've met him multiple times. He's showed up at places where we were. Told us that he thought it was time for us to move, to find a better place.
But the plan was for him to buy the software.
Yes.
Or to facilitate the sale. Okay.
A constant issue with Jim was him telling us things or asking us to lie on his behalf and not following through. Like causing issues.
And what sort of lies? He was asking you to lie on his behalf. What do you mean by?
Sometimes it was a matter of like telling us stuff that I have reason to doubt, that my parents were not actually my parents.
How would you want Jim to know your family? Why would you give him your DNA?
I trusted him a lot throughout this. I felt like he was keeping us safe.
So you heard the defendant saying that he trusted this Jim McIntyre. So Jim McIntyre is the one that's making him lie. Is there a Jim McIntyre? We don't know. According to defense counsel, there is. According to the defendant, there is. But Vinnie, that's about what we know.
All right, just want to review, just make sure I got this right. A man appears, he just appears, named Jim McIntyre, claims to be from the FBI, tells them they're in danger and to run, but doesn't tell them why. He can't be contacted, and somehow he's holding $1.5 million, and he trusts him.
Yes.
Perfect.
This is it.
Makes so much sense to me. Now it's all clear. Kelly Craft, thank you so much. Let's bring back in our think tank, Nima Rahmani, David Schnipper, Josh Colesroot. Mr. Schnipper, do you think the jury's going to want to know why they were running, like why they should fear for their life? Like that's a big part of this story that seems to be missing right now.
And I happen to know the defense counsel pretty well, Doug Weinstein. Maybe his theme, his goal is to confuse the jury so much that they don't know what to do. But this reminds me of back in the day when the Dungeons and Dragons game creates storytelling and like a fabricator, the word fabulous, making up elaborate stories. Mythomaniac refers to a person who has a compulsion to tell lies and create fantastic stories, and obviously a pathological liar. I mean, this guy is just, he's a unique one, but I'm trying to figure out what the goal is here. But at the end of the day, where's the evidence going to show? But I mean, like my colleague said, the guy is not likable at all.
No, he's not likable
at all. And he has no credibility.
Yeah, Josh, did you see what just happened? David Schnipper just outed himself as a Dungeons and Dragons player. That is my takeaway from the show tonight. Do you think? Let me ask you this, Josh. If this guy can't be contacted, like if a Jim McIntyre showed up in the courtroom, could he walk?
Well, it depends on what Mr. McIntyre would say, but I think to talk about the theory a little bit, the jury doesn't have to believe that Jim McIntyre is real. All they have to believe is that the defendant believed he was real and he acted accordingly, that he thought his life was in danger. And that's why he went on the run. That's why he changed his name. So, I'm not saying that it's a very believable story. But there's two components here. They can either believe the theory or they can believe the defendant believed it. Either way, the defense would, win in that scenario.
Oh, wait a minute. Nima, I'm just getting word. I think we found out where Jim McIntyre is. He married Zanny the nanny. And they're raising a family. How about this? How about this? Like, he can't testify at this point. Can he testify? Because all the jury's heard throughout the prosecution case is about these fantastic lies, these unbelievable stories. If he wants to explain anything himself, will the jury give him any sort of benefit of doubt of him telling the truth on the witness stand?
I don't think he can or should testify. And I think the defense has tailored their story around this rambling statement. And I was shocked he gave it. Look, here's someone who's a lawyer, just like the rest of us. I mean, he knows his Fifth Amendment rights. He waived them, and he gave this ridiculous statement when he didn't have to. So, look, there's a couple ways to defend cases, and Josh and David are two of the best. And you can get up there and say this is a circumstantial case and talk about reasonable doubt. But when you go commit to this statement in your opening as a defense attorney, you gotta deliver something.
Yeah, you gotta give him something.
Jurors are expecting it.
Give me something. Give me maybe a photo of Jim McIntyre. Here we are playing golf. All right. Big thanks, Nima Rahmani, David Schnipper, Josh Colesrud. Appreciate it. When we come back, I will reveal something else you need to know tonight.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Coming up next, only on Court TV.
Saturday nights on ION
is our night.
Let's go! Double headers every Saturday at 7 and 10 p.m. Eastern. The new Saturday Night Out is on ION all season long.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. What's happening in the world of crime and justice? Nurse or not? This is a wild story out of Florida. Autumn Bardiza, 29 years old, was arrested after allegedly posing as a licensed nurse, caring for like 4,500 patients. Unbelievable. They put up a helpline, the local sheriff, to see if anyone had any sort of adverse interaction with this alleged fake nurse. Let's take a look at her arrest.
Hey there. Are you Autumn?
Yeah.
Can you step out of the car for me, please?
Sure.
Just turn around and put your hands behind your back.
Oh, wait, what's going on?
Just put your hands behind your back.
Okay, my child's across the street.
Okay, all right.
Am I being arrested?
You are.
Yeah. Wait,
Hold on.
Can I ask? Can I?
We have plenty of time to talk.
Okay.
Just give us just a minute.
Can I turn my car off?
Yeah, we'll take care of all that.
Can I turn my car off so I can tell her I can't go to the street?
Yeah, you have any other weapons? Julia 34 flag. Just one female secure.
Now, she was fired about a month before the arrest, but she was arrested wearing scrubs. And I guess a lot of folks wondering, why was she wearing scrubs after getting fired for allegedly being a fake nurse? We'll keep an eye on it for you. All right, take a look at your television screens. We have a missing child who needs your help. This is Amire Lambert, 14 years old, missing from Nashua, New Hampshire. Missing since August the 5th. Here's what you need to do. If you see Amire, pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference. 911, 1-800-THE-LOST. Or you can call the Nashua Police Department in New Hampshire. The phone number's on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Amire to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.